Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's poppin'?
Whoa.
Week 3 coming at you very soon. Gonna watch some Thursday Night Football tonight. Maybe.
Yeah, you gonna watch that
I'm
game?
gonna fall asleep. I don't think it'll be.
I'll
that
tell you
bad.
what.
It's not gonna be
I
that
will
bad.
watch it, but I'm not really.
Giants are
I don't
gonna
really have high expectations.
Giants are
for
gonna
it.
show up tonight. 49ers, with that said, are gonna win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about that game. We already talked about that. If you want to, somewhere on the video at this point, there was a link to the last episode, which was the Thursday night preview. So be sure to check that out. See if we got things right or wrong from the game, because you're obviously going to have watched it already. But anyway, we got weekly starts and sits for week 3 of fantasy football.
That's in sits.
We've had an injury-plagued start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, right before we started recording this, we got the Trayvon Diggs news too. So
It's wild. But we're going to try to give you some starts and sits for the week and break that down. Before we do, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, please leave a review and share this pod with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like and comment down below. All right, so as usual with the starts and sits, Rick and I will give you separately our starts and sits. I couldn't tell you what we did last week. But I'm going to pull up the show notes and give you our, we have a lot of people to talk about.
I know I at least had one really bad one for my start.
Because my brain has no functioning cells left. And I don't know what I did last week. So let me open this real fast. So basically, Rick had Daniel Jones as a start.
QB1.
Miles Sanders as a start.
He blew.
Jerry Jeudy as a start.
Also blew.
And Hunter Henry as a start.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Dak Prescott, he had as a sit.
Yeah, he had 20 points. That wasn't great.
Cam Akers versus San Fran, he had as a sit.
Oh, that was a W.
Yeah, that was an absolute dub, dude. Didn't even play. Terry McLaurin at Denver.
He had a pretty good game, so that was an L.
Jawan Johnson at Carolina as a sit.
He sucked.
My starts were Geno at Detroit.
W.
Rashad White versus Chicago. I don't even know how he did.
Another W.
DJ Moore at Tampa Bay.
Another W, dude. 3
Roll
for 3.
Tide. And then I had Muth at Cleveland. Yeah, that's... Sorry, guys. Tua versus New England to sit.
Yeah, good one.
Kyron Williams versus San Fran as sit. Now,
to
defend this one...
Thought both him and Akers were going to play at the time.
And I kind of am okay with sitting him because you just don't know what you're going to get against a tough defense.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with sitting him still in that.
And it's not like you sat him because not just the Cam Akers thing, but even if we knew Cam Akers wasn't going to play, it was still a really tough matchup. And he didn't do much on the ground, but he had 7 catches? Something like that.
If I had some kind of proof
10
in
targets.
his career that he was able to beat good defenses, then I would have been like, yeah, sure.
I think if we knew that he would get 10 targets, he would have been a start.
Yeah.
Running back.
All Chiefs receivers versus Jacksonville.
Sky Moore had a good game.
Yeah, he did all right. He had only 4 targets, though.
Yeah, you don't want that.
And then Gerald Everett at Tennessee.
Did he have a bad game? I'm assuming so.
No idea. But anyway, yeah, not bad for me. Rick, you got to pick up the slack on these starts, though.
Yeah. Hey, week 1 I did really good.
I think we both did good on week 1. But anyway, so we're going to run through our starts and our sits. We'll start with the quarterback position. And Rick, you can kick it off with your QB start of the week here.
So
Whoa!
not intentionally.
What was that?
Not intentionally.
Was that like a 20-year-old?
I was getting my inner Kirk Cousins because that's my start of the week.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Not intentionally. He's also my starting quarterback in our home league. But he is playing the Chargers. So Kirk Cousins has been really good this year, almost too good, makes me nervous. He's the QB1 in all of fantasy.
Mhm.
And it's partly because the Vikings are it's funny because like 3 or 4 years ago,
Mhm.
they were a run first team. It was like Dalvin Cook, play action, all this stuff. Kirk Cousins just protects the ball. He's a game manager. And now with Kevin O'Connell, and now that they don't have a running back, they've done a complete 180. Like they're one of the most pass heavy teams in the league. Kirk Cousins is almost a lock every week to get like 40 pass attempts. They have Justin Jefferson. They just chuck the ball all over the place. And it's good for Kirk Cousins. It's good for fantasy. And against the Chargers this week, in week 1, the Chargers gave up, was it 450 yards to Tua?
Yeah.
And they couldn't cover anything. And they got absolutely destroyed. And then last week against the Titans team that is really not great, especially their passing game is not good. Tannehill in week 1 had 3 interceptions and 198 yards. And then last week against the Chargers, he didn't do anything crazy, but he had 250 yards and a touchdown. And then he added a rushing touchdown as well. So he had 22 fantasy points or 21 fantasy points in a 4-point league versus the Chargers. So back-to-back weeks, the Chargers have given up top 10 performances at the quarterback position. And now you're going up against a team that throws the ball a million times. I think on paper, this looks like a really, really good week for Kirk Cousins.
For sure. Don't mind Kirk in that spot against the Chargers because their defense is a butt. My start is Jared Goff at quarterback versus Atlanta. Atlanta has been actually decent versus quarterbacks, but I don't know if that's because of the amount of talent that they have played at the quarterback position or due to the fact that all Atlanta does is run, and that just burns clock and keeps the other team off the field. So I don't know if it's either one of those things, but I think this is a good week that you can platoon Goff in because the Atlanta defense just isn't good. They don't have really many good things to their team. They are 2-0. Is that correct?
They're 2-0.
So they're playing, better. But this is the first real test. I think the Lions need to come away with this one. Is the Lions a 2-win team right now? I mean, they're 1-1, right?
They're 1-1. This is a big game for the Lions.
So this is a big game for the Lions.
This is a game they need to win if they want to win the division.
Yeah. So I think that they can come out, have a good game against Atlanta. Obviously, like I said, the numbers for the quarterbacks, like I'm gonna be upfront and honest with you. They've given up 12.6 points to the quarterback position the first 2 weeks Atlanta has. So
they did play Bryce Young, who the Panthers receivers might be worse than anyone in the league.
Mm-hmm.
We're up there. And then they played the Packers, who Jordan Love looks like he's decent, but they didn't have Christian Watson. So
yeah.
But I will say AJ Terrell is a really good corner.
He's fantastic.
And they added Jesse Bates from the Bengals. He was like the big free agent signing at safety. And I think PFF has him as like the number 2 safety in the league right now. So he's really good as well. Good job, so the Falcons do have a couple of good players in defense, but they're not a great defense.
Yeah. So I feel good about
Detroit.
I feel good about streaming and playing Jared Goff this week versus Atlanta if you need a play. If he sucks, I apologize. Rick, who's your sit?
I don't think it's a bad one at all.
Sit at quarterback for you, Rick?
Mine is Russell Wilson against the Dolphins. The Dolphins defense kind of got lit up by the Chargers, but it was mostly on the ground. Herbert had an okay game against them, but nothing super, super crazy. And then last week they did a pretty good job against the Patriots as well. I don't think the defense is anything special, but it is a home game for Miami with Vic Fangio. And I think Russ too. People are going to look at last week and, they might think, let Russ cook. He's back. He had a decent week in week 1 as well. He's the QB5 right now. So I think a lot of people are going to want to start him. I don't think he's there yet in terms of like starting every week. If he proves me wrong and ends up having a big week, then we might get to that point with Russ and say that he's back to being Seattle Russ in terms of fantasy and even just being a quarterback and in general. But the stats were a little inflated last week because I don't know, did you watch the Commanders-Broncos game or know what happened?
No, but I did see the Hail Mary.
Right. So he had the Hail Mary at the end of the game to almost tie the game, and it worked. So you take that Hail Mary away, he's at like 250 and 2 touchdowns, which is good, but it's not 29 fantasy points or 20 whatever
Yeah.
fantasy points, depending on your league. 26 fantasy points, I think, and a 4 touchdown. It's not that good. So tamper the expectations at Russ a little bit. And against Miami, I don't really think he's going to go off. I'm not saying he's going to get a 10-point week, but I don't expect more than 15, 16 fantasy points out of him this week.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to the running back position. I'll start with actually, I skipped my sit. Never mind. We're not moving on to the next guy. My sit of the week at quarterback here is Jordan Love versus New Orleans. New Orleans so far this year been pretty good against the quarterback position, only giving up 9.5 points per game. So this isn't an easy matchup for Jordan Love. Love last week against Atlanta didn't have the greatest week either. And Christian Watson's going to be out again, so they're going to be relying on Jalen Reed and Romeo Doubs, and there's just not a lot of weapons there for the Green Bay Packers to work with. So I know Jordan Love, what is he, QB2 on the season so far?
Yeah.
Something like that. I know he's been playing really well, but I would sit him this week against New Orleans and do it pretty comfortably. Let's move to the starts at the running back position. And I'm going to give you mine. It is Kyren Williams at Cincinnati. Now, there's no other reason. Cincinnati, they're mid against the run for the most part. So, it's not the easiest matchup of all time. They give up 17 points a game to the running back position for the first 2 weeks of the season here. But the big thing about Kyren Williams is that he had 95% of the snap percentage last week, and Cam Akers is gone. And there's really, they have Ronnie Perkins as a backup. Is that even his name? I don't even know.
I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah. So, you can't even talk about intelligently the team's second
Zach
running
Evans.
back. Zach Evans?
Yeah, the rookie. He was supposed to be a relatively high pick, and then he fell to the 7th round.
That I heard somebody said to go pick because there's a second.
And they have Royce Freeman. They signed Royce Freeman.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Rams don't have anyone at running back. So the whole point, I think at this point, Rick, I put Kyren Williams on my start list, and Rick brought up the fact that hey, he's probably a start every week at this point, just based on the way he's played,
there.
which I agree. Yeah, he's definitely getting there, and if he's not getting there, he's there. So we'll have to see as he plays over the course of the next couple of weeks. But my big thing is that I think there's probably a lot of people out there who are watching this most likely saying, hey, I don't know if I should be starting Kyren Williams or not. He's had a couple of good weeks. Should I start him? And that I would imagine there's going to be a ton of questions for people who answer start-sit questions regularly that get the Kyren Williams or somebody else question. So I would just you don't even have to ask us. Kyren Williams is a start this week at Cincinnati. He's going to have a fine week. He's a start on a week-to-week basis. He has a really high PPR ceiling. And, I think he's kind of matchup proof at this point because he does get the PPR reception upside. And then if they're winning in blowouts, he's going to be running on the ground. So, it works out either way for him. He's got to be in your starting lineup from here until he shows you otherwise. But I'd start him against Cincinnati this week.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's a good start. My start of the week at running back is probably my least favorite start that I have. And it took you to scream at me to even put him on this list because I didn't want to do it. But he is probably the most logical guy.
Rick gets burned and he doesn't double down.
That isn't a super obvious player. I did want to go with Gibbs for the record, but I also have him on my fantasy team, so I felt dirty doing that. So I'm going to go Miles Sanders. I'm doubling down. Last week he was my start of the week at running back, and he blew fat chunks. I'm glad I didn't put any money in where my mouth was, but if you listened, you might have. And he blew fat chunks, and he, ruined my starts and sits because I got a couple good ones. I had the QB1 and all fantasy last week. But Miles Sanders kind of, threw something in there, and I didn't like it. And I was kind of out on Miles Sanders, but it is a very good matchup against Seattle. He's still a starting running back, and Andy Dalton now in at quarterback might be a good thing for Miles Sanders because we could see a lot of dump-offs, and in PPR leagues, I think this could be a week where Sanders gets 4 or 5 catches again and has a good floor just because of that. And then he's a couple big runs or a touchdown away from having a big, big week. But if he doesn't do well this week, bro, I know he's your boy.
Yeah.
I'm so beyond out on Miles Sanders, like forever. Maybe not forever, but
rude.
this season.
I mean, what do we anticipate? Sanders, what is he in his 4th year now?
Year
If
4 or
he's not-
5,
If
yeah.
he's not good now,
You
he's
ball
never
off season,
gonna be
bro.
good.
He was your favorite RB2, like the 5th, 6th round guy.
We give it some time.
No,
Sheesh. I mean, he is.
he hasn't
getting,
even been off. He had
22
like 12
touches
points
week 1, 17
Yeah.
touches week 2. So like, the big thing about Sanders is I didn't think that there was going to be like
Their offense is
massive
really
efficiency.
bad.
Yeah, their
though.
offense isn't good, but like
really bad.
really
it might be
bad
the
is
worst, one of the worst
strong.
in the league. I don't know.
But they don't
did
have
not look good
they
on
don't have
Monday.
Bryce
I will say
anymore,
that.
So that's a problem. But my big thing here is that I look at him as like especially in drafts, like it was a high volume like
Yeah,
5th round
and he's
pick,
going to have good
and
weeks, I think, because of that.
so
but
and he
I
continues.
think this
to
could
have
be
high
one of them.
volume, and Seattle blows. So I'm not. That's strong, but it's a good matchup. All right, let's move on to. I mean, do I need to give a sit this week?
Yeah, we need to do our running back
Jeez,
sets.
dude, I'm freaking brain dead right now.
I'll give you mine. It's Jermaine Ford. Jerome Ford.
Did
sorry.
you say Jermaine?
Jermaine, whatever. Jerome Ford.
Do you know
it is
it,
Jerome
Jermaine?
Ford. You're right.
Do you know it, Jermaine?
See, this is why I, he's not even worth remembering.
You typed Jerome.
Did I?
Yeah, you typed.
What
Jerome.
did I type?
You typed it properly. But
Oh, I did.
Jerome.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was looking at something else. Anyway, yeah. So Jerome Ford, he's everybody's darling. You might have spent, like someone in our league, 100%, almost 100% of your waiver budget on him. I don't think we got to talk about the Nick Chubb injury, but like that breaks my heart because I'm an OG Nick Chubb guy, and this was the year where he could have been RB1, and then his leg gives out, and long term that's gonna really suck. But it's gonna be Ford the rest of the season, and he had one big run, and he had a really good game, 24 fantasy points. I guarantee you, if you have Nick Chubb, anyone who has I almost said Jermaine. Jerome Ford on their team is going to want to start them. And I just am going to be very cautious about that. They did sign Kareem Hunt. I don't think he's going to play this week, or if he does, he's going to get like 3 touches. So it's not about Kareem Hunt. It's about the matchup. The Titans right now have a top 3 rush defense through the first couple of weeks. And last year they had a top 10 rush defense. So they have a really, really good rush defense. And when you're getting a guy like that, it doesn't matter when it's Nick Chubb. But when it's Jerome Ford, that sort of thing will matter. So I don't expect him to be very efficient in week number 3. He's going to have to rely on finding the end zone.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, I don't expect him to have a good week at all.
Okay, fair enough. My sit at running back this week is Dameon Pierce at Jacksonville. It's time. I hope this is not the Pierce blow-up week, but I think where Pierce went, a lot of people were just starting Pierce on a week-to-week basis, saying, I got to roll this guy out, I got to roll this guy out, I got to roll this guy out because I drafted him high. You're 2 weeks into the season, and you've seen a 5-point game and a 5-point game. So, to me, I'm looking at this situation and going, like, it's not like he's not getting opportunity, but he's not efficient with the opportunity, and there really hasn't been a whole ton of scoring opportunities for Houston the first couple weeks of the season. Now, Stroud was lights out last week, but they got into a negative game script so fast that it kind of just took Pierce out of the game. And it's just, I don't think he's a dude where they're going to be able to hand it to him 20 times like they did last year and just manage the game. You know what I mean? I think they want Stroud to throw. They want this, they want to show that they can actually move the ball downfield and get him some opportunities. And I just don't think it's going to be Dameon Pierce's, week, let alone season at this point. But we'll have to see if he can bounce back. I have him a sit specifically this week because I don't think he's a guy that you can trust on a week-to-week basis, and Jacksonville has been really good against running backs. 9.6 points per game so far this year in each game that they've had on average to the running back position. So it's going to be tough for Dameon Pierce to get any kind of, opportunity. If they hold them to 10 fantasy points for the entire running back position, it's not going to look good for Dameon Pierce on the week. So I would sit him this week and find another option.
Yeah, He's been really inefficient this year as well. I don't know if the offensive line has also blows, especially the interior. Um, so yeah, and they're a pass heavy team, which nobody expected. So that's also surprising. He's the type of player that could break off like a 60-yard run for a touchdown, though. So
For sure.
there's that, but I would agree.
Let's move to the wide receiver position. I'll quickly give you my start of the week at wide receiver. It is Jordan Addison versus the Chargers. Now,
Oh my God.
yeah, dude, love Jordan
Oh,
Addison.
he's
He has
more your
been one
guy.
of these. He's been one of these dudes at the wide receiver position. Just to give you this real quick, the Chargers have given up 49 points per game to the wide receiver position. And so people are just the receivers specifically are just cooking that team, and it's a week where you have to get the pass catching weapons from the Minnesota Vikings on the field, and I think Addison is one of those guys. Now, Addison's had an interesting start to the season. He was one of the guys that we felt was going to be instantly utilized and have instant success, and so far this year, I mean, he only has 11 full targets on the season, but he has two 16-point games, ranking as the wide receiver 18 on the year. So he's been efficient. He's been good. I'd like to see the opportunity increase as weeks go along, which I think it will, but seeing what you're getting out of Jordan Addison is good. The problem is in PPR, he's kind of been buoyed a little bit by touchdowns. So like I said, you want to see a little bit of a target share increase. If this is a high scoring affair where the Chargers and the Vikings are kind of trading blows, which I think that could happen, then Addison should get more target share in a positive game script and, get some more opportunity. But I'd start him this week against the Chargers.
Yeah, KJ Osborne right now is still getting a higher snap percentage, which
is
annoying. But they again, every time we talk about Addison on the show, I've always mentioned how Jefferson the first 2 weeks got like a 40% snap percentage, and at least Addison is playing. He's just their third receiver right now, but he's outperforming Osborne. So hopefully that doesn't last much longer.
Mm-hmm.
That goes great, bro. I have Cousins in that Addison stack in the home league, so hopefully that's a good week for me with those guys. Mine is George Pickens, and I'm not even that crazy about him. If you take out that
you're a risk taker,
71-yard touchdown,
you like that risk,
the slant, he would not have had as really a good week at all, but he turned it into 22 fantasy points, mostly off that one play.
Yeah.
But he did have 10 targets, and without Deontay Johnson, because the debate all offseason was who was going to have a bigger fantasy season between Pickens and Deontay Johnson. But with Johnson out of the picture, Pickens is the clear number one in that offense. And although it's a very gross offense, if he's getting 10 targets a week, I mean, you're going to want to start him, even if the offense blows. And it's against the Raiders, who don't exactly have the best defense in the world either. It's a pretty good matchup on Sunday Night Football. So if you're looking at 10 targets with a bad defense,
whoa,
I know I got Addison in my brain. If you got 10 targets versus a bad defense, it's a pretty good start in my opinion.
Yeah, you better hope that happens because, oh my God, what looks worse to you right now? The Steelers' offense this year or the Patriots' offense last year?
It's very similar, but at least the Steelers' offense has
talent.
George Pickens,
talent. That makes me Kenny Pickett really bad.
Yeah, I don't know if Kenny Pickett is good.
So yeah, I mean, it is concerning.
His offense coordinator doesn't help him, but
that should make it so that I would start Pat Freiermuth against the Raiders. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not
out on
that. Anyway, my sit at wide receiver this week.
Oh, we have the same one.
I already said my start, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know we had the same sit, but we do.
Oh, we have the same sit on, or there's
the
same start on the next guy too at the tight end position. So we will.
I'm not gonna lie. When I did my notes, I had no idea that we picked the same guy. That was unintentional.
You knew about the Kyle Pitts one though, right?
I knew about Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Which we'll get to.
So we both have Marquise Hollywood Brown as a sit, and we'll just quickly go through this. Dallas, this might change now because Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but Dallas is really good defensively on just overall. And Josh Dobbs is throwing Marquise Hollywood Brown the ball. Brown has not been good realistically. He hasn't been great on the season so far. the quarterback play has to do with that a little bit. So I would just sit him against Dallas as a tough matchup. With the Trayvon Diggs news, I won't judge you if you choose to start Brown.
Yeah.
But I'll still sit him this week.
I'd still sit him too. I mean, that does definitely could affect it. And if you were on the fence, like you don't really have a great option, I wouldn't judge you either for starting Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
They still have Micah Parsons. They still have some great pass rushers. They still have Stephon Gilmore. So like their defense is still good, but obviously takes a big blow. But Hollywood, I don't really expect a ton of anyway. So when you're playing against the Cowboys and Dobbs might get sacked or Dubes, how do you pronounce his name? Josh, the quarterback.
I don't know, Joshua Dobbs.
Dobbs. So it is Dobbs. When Dobbs gets sacked 9 times, I don't know if any Cardinals receiver is going to have a ton of success in this game. So I'm still sitting Hollywood.
Okay, let's move to the tight end position and talk about our joint tight end start of the week, which is Kyle Pitts at Detroit. Here we go. I gave you your opportunity last week, Kyle, and you burned me. Hopefully you don't burn me again, but this is it. This is it. If you do not produce this week, Kyle Pitts, I'm done. We're done. It's over. I'm not in anymore. You can get the frig out of here, and you're the biggest bust in the history of drafted tight ends.
I hate to do this,
but Detroit's a good matchup.
But we've been saying the same thing for a full year now with Kyle Pitts, and you would think we would have learned because Ritter blows, and Arthur Smith doesn't like passing the ball forward. He's stuck in 1908 or whenever they allowed players to.
He should have hired Matt Patricia. It fits perfectly.
Yeah, I would have been better for Kyle Pitts. But, so Kyle Pitts has a total of 4 catches in 2 games.
Yeah.
They're not really passing the ball at all. Desmond Ritter is not, to me, a great NFL quarterback. Mm-hmm. Arthur Smith doesn't like throwing the ball. So it's all these things. And if Kyle Pitts doesn't have a good game against the Detroit Lions and has another stinker, that's 3 weeks in a row, and you get to that point where it hurts you too much. It's time to let go. So Kyle Pitts, if you don't have a pretty good game this week, it's over.
Agreed.
Get done.
Get done, kid.
Get done.
And then quickly, we'll do our sits of the week. My sit at the tight end position is Chig Okonkwo at Cleveland. Cleveland so far this year, dude, I don't know, man.
He had 7 points, I guess.
But it's only 2 weeks, so like it's not like we're just out completely on people yet. But Cleveland's given up 2 fantasy points to the tight end position so far this year, so I don't imagine that this is going to be an option for Tennessee to throw the ball to. Cleveland also has a really good defense, and I think that Cleveland's going to have a lot of issues in this game, to be honest with you. So, Tennessee's going to have a lot of offensive issues in this game, and I think they'll probably try to get Derrick Henry involved a lot more, and I don't think this is going to be a high opportunity game for Chig. So I'd sit him out this week, and if you have Hunter Henry on the waiver wire or something, I go pick him up and start him. Rick and I totally disagree with that. Who's your sit this week, Rick?
It's Hunter Henry, the guy you want to start.
I'm starting Hunter Henry this week.
Yeah, and you're ignoring my advice. Not that you have a ton of better options, but no, I love Hunter Henry for the season. Don't get me wrong, and I think he was a great pickup, and he's back to being a top 12 tight end.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the tight end too, and he's not going to be putting up 17 points a week. And I think this is one of those weeks where he doesn't have a good week and kind of comes back down to earth a little bit. Against the Jets, it's a good defense. Yep. It's a really good defense. It could be a very low-scoring game. There's also reports that we might have a bad weather game as well, which just makes things even worse if that ends up being the case. I don't expect this to be super high-scoring. I think Hunter Henry will still be involved. He'll still have some catches. I'm not really sure about having another touchdown for the 3rd straight week, so if you have better options, I'd put them in over Henry.
It's not like the touchdowns have been buoying the boy, though.
Have been what?
Buoying the boy. Like holding them up fantasy-wise.
Oh, yeah. No.
10 points is fine. That's a fine.
I'm not really confident in either offense this week.
You got that
in that
tropical
game.
storm in your
If
hand.
it's bad weather, if it's good weather, the Patriots maybe they put up like 20 something points, maybe.
Yeah.
If it's bad weather, it could literally be 3.
Who are you starting this week though, Chig or Hunter Henry? If you had to make the choice,
I would start Hunter.
There we go. All right, there your starts and sits. Be sure to use that information. Buy and sell tomorrow. See you later, guys.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.